Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Uncensored match build-up show, the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, Amsterdam, joined by Chris Coughlin and by Luke Laver at Luke Laver.
At Luke Laver, yeah.
At Luke Laver. It's Luke Fiore, but at Luke Laver, and you can follow Chris. Chris, you've got a mad underscore in your Twitter, haven't you?
Yeah, I got
underscore.
Underscore Chris Coughlin. But I'm buzzing that I managed to get my name just without any numbers.
Yeah, you've done well there. You've done well. You can search for Luke on Twitter and on TikTok Star, and you can find Chris on the BBC's Merseyside sports coverage. There's everyone. There you go. Got your socials in for you, lads. The Luke Laver, Luke Fiore thing always. I always think
throws you off.
No. I say Luke Fiore, but then I don't think people are going to be able to find you. So if we go Luke Laver, people will be able to find you out. So yeah, go and check out Luke's TikToks. I mean, the Plymouth vlog was funny, if nothing else. And that is the last we're ever going to speak about. That game.
Still shattered.
No, I'm all right now. Come round now.
We are going to speak about the derby, though. This one might be a little bit of a longer show because there's loads of context around this. Before we even talk, Luke, about the context of it being the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, the main context from a Liverpool point of view is this is the game in hand in the Premier League. We've been saying it for ages. Liverpool are 6 points clear with the game in hand, or whatever they are with this game in hand after the original fixture got delayed because of the storm. This is it. Like, if Liverpool win the Merseyside derby, they will be 9 points clear at the top of the league over Arsenal with just 14 games left to go. That isn't quite title done, but you can start having one hand on the trophy, I think, before you even look at all the derby and Goodison and all that kind of stuff. That is massive for Liverpool. This is the game now. If they win this one, what a 3 points that would be.
Yeah, it's something we've all been talking about, isn't it, for a very, very long time. Always 6 points clear. We got the game in hand. The game in hand's not going to be easy, is it? You know, it's going to be the derby at Goodison Park. It's going to be probably one of the hardest away games of the season, most likely. Probably a little bit better for us now that they've got Moyes instead of Dyche. Might be able to make a little bit more of a game of it. You know, under Dyche should be thinking it's going to be a really low block and we're going to be drumming them all game, but they're going to have all the men behind the ball. It's absolutely massive, and if we can go and take 3 points away or even a point away, it makes Arsenal's task much, much harder, and it's going to be really, really hard for them to turn around within the running.
Absolutely, and going back to it, like I say, 9 points clear with 14 games, because that's what's on offer for Liverpool here. If they draw, which again, listen, more often than not, Liverpool draw Goodison derbies, that is certainly a possibility. It's still 7 points clear, so that Arsenal have got a better Liverpool in 3 games with 14 to go. It's just a massive opportunity here for Liverpool, not only, like I say, to extend that lead is the main thing, but really dishearten Arsenal. They need it to be 2 games. The second it goes to 3, and especially if it's a win, they're thinking, how are we going to overturn this? There's just not that long left now.
No. It's actually, I think 7 of the last 10 at Goodison have been draws. But I really do think this game is psychological more than anything. Because for Arsenal fans, they're all going to be tuning in, wanting only one thing. And how many times have we all watched title races with Man City, and the second they go 1-0 up or 2-0 up, just switch off and go do something else with our lives. You know, that this is just such a big game for me mentally, because if it is that 9 point gap, regardless of Arsenal having this nice long break after the second leg against Newcastle, which I was right, by the way, I said they'd win both. I said Newcastle would win both legs.
You did.
I just think that'll be such a hammer blow and such a big fillet for the squad, really, just to get 9 points clear, because how often, as well, we say games in hand, rather a point on the board. I don't know about you guys. That's my mentality. I'd always rather a point on the board, because then it's giving someone else stuff to chase. And the thing is, actually, I think there'll be a point where I might totally be wrong with this. Like, actually, with the Villa game next week, it'll be a point where Liverpool are a game ahead of Arsenal.
If Liverpool win their next 3 games, they will be 12 points clear. At worst, because of the they don't play for a while as well. So if imagine they play Leicester at the weekend. So imagine if we win Derby, Wolves, Villa, they've only got Leicester in that time. So actually, they then have the game in hand on us, and it's 12 points. So the next week or so is going to be absolutely vital for Liverpool if they can get it done, for sure.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely spot on. In terms of, it's weird, Luke, because you mentioned it before. At the time when this derby was originally meant to be played, it was December, wasn't it? I think I'm right in saying. And Dyche was in charge, and the mood around them wasn't great. But it was, Liverpool had just come off a real tough game, and in midweek again, and
Newcastle,
the Newcastle game, Alexis was now going to be suspended. There was a couple of injuries knocking out. Gerald Kwanzaa played the Newcastle game at right back. However, Everton were probably in a worse place. The Dyche thing was a thing. At the time, I think we all felt that was a good time for that game not to be played, especially if they had played in the middle of a hurricane. Dyche ball at any time is bad. In the middle of a monsoon would have been, goodness gracious, it could have been anything. what it means though, if that's a positive, the negative is A, they've got a new manager and they started winning games, and B, the last Merseyside derby at Goodison goes from a 12:30 Saturday to a evening kick-off on a Wednesday, where Goodison you'd feel is going to be rocking. So while Liverpool might have got an advantage there, how are you feeling now about it, given the fact that it's Moyes, that they're in relatively good form, albeit a couple loss at the weekend, and it's now Goodison under the lights?
I'd say, to be honest, I'm feeling a little bit better about it than I was at first, which is probably on the opposite side of most people's opinions, and that's only because I think Moyes, he sort of, Everton are playing well. They've won the last 3 league games, haven't they? 2 of them being at Goodison Park. But they're sort of still feeling out how to play. Moyes is still playing very much. It's a bit clunky. Sometimes it's extremely direct and extremely long. And then sometimes they're sort of playing it through. You know, the three of the goals against Leicester that come in the league win, last for them, 3 of them have come from direct long balls. So it's one of them, they don't quite know how they're going to play, because then Tottenham the week before, they were playing really well intricately and they weren't piping them long into the box. Also against Bournemouth at the weekend, they're playing with a box midfield, where they're playing out. Are they going to do that against Liverpool? You doubt it, playing out from the back. So they sort of, I think they don't really know who they are. They're still trying to figure the system out. It has been working for them. But if they're going to try and play out in the back, or play a box midfield, or play intricately around Liverpool, we should tear them to shreds.
Liverpool, you mentioned there, because we spoke about it before, like Liverpool tend to draw this game. They've obviously lost last year. It was a bad loss, and by that point Liverpool were hanging on to the season, really. It was the wheels had kind of come off there. But it is going to be an emotional occasion, you know what I mean? Like Goodison, when it's bouncing, is really hard to go to. Goodison, when they're on the back, you know, it can be really difficult for their players. Like Goodison can be really, you know, it could be they'd rather be away sometimes. But when the mood's good, which it kind of is now under Moyes, and like I say, they know the significance. They do not want to lose the last ever derby at Goodison Park. Like, it is going to be a bear pit of an atmosphere. Yeah. We haven't really seen an Arne Slot Liverpool go to an absolute feral atmosphere. I can't think of anything this season. Maybe a little bit at Newcastle, and actually they did okay, but yeah, they haven't really had to face anything like this. Under Jurgen Klopp, we knew actually sometimes it didn't work out. Maybe the football team were a bit emotional. It'll be interesting to see how an Arne Slot Liverpool deals with what is going to be a very intense place to be.
Yeah, I'll be honest, my line of thinking is almost identical to Luke, because the first time it was going to get played, because, well, Everton in the week, they just beat Wolves 4-0. I know 2 of the goals were own goals, but still, there was a really morale boosting win for them. And when there was all the talk about the wind and everything, given the nature of the equaliser against Newcastle, I was just sat there like thinking, this is an absolute nightmare to be going into this with.
General Kwanzaa at right back.
There was just so many things that weren't ideal going into that game. And again, whether confidence has been increased with the change of manager from our perspective going into it, I'm not entirely sure. But I do agree that there is going to be a bit more fluidity from Everton going forward in some sense, which I always have a weird mindset of. I prefer teams to have a go, because that will always open up at the back. Whereas under Dyche, the thing is, we say this, Everton were coming up to that nightmare period, weren't they, of Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City. They drew the other 3. Yeah. So that was just a sign of how difficult it could have been for Liverpool. And ultimately, again, I remember seeing when it got postponed, obviously you said McAllister, I think Konate was injured, there were doubts over Alisson. You know, I know there's still 1 or 2 doubts now, but overall, I think there's a healthier look to the squad than there would have been that day as well.
Okay, there's pros and cons. I think at half 12 derby is easier from an atmosphere point of view.
Definitely.
But actually, the Goodison under the lights in the last derby is going to be mental. You know. But from a Liverpool team point of view, Luke, that's a bonus. But if you look at it actually from an Everton point of view as well, then they're actually struggling a little bit with injuries as well. I'll bring their injuries up on screen now.
I'm right in saying, so the last 10 derbies, I'm trying to think, the last 10 derbies of Goodison, the 3 games that have been under the lights have been the wins. So Mane, the 4-1, then last season. All the other ones that I played in daylight, nothing really.
There tend to be loads of draws. Someone tends to win the night-time ones more often than not. But go back to Everton, they've got obviously Mangala. Since he's gone out, actually, their win percentage without Mangala, I think, was like 12%. Someone said. I mean, I just believe that because I read it on the internet. Bro he hasn't really done any, and he's probably going to go back to Chelsea, you'd think, at this point. Calvert-Lewin's out, which is a big one, and Dwight McNeil, Chimiti and Seamus Coleman, and they might get Michalenko back, we'll find out. It feels like in that last derby, in particular, Calvert-Lewin caused us real problems. The directness, actually a little bit of Dwight McNeil can cause Liverpool issues as well. Those 2 plus Mangala being out feels like a big blow for Everton, Luke.
Yeah, I think it does. I think Calvert-Lewin's the big one, isn't he? Because he really bullied us last time out. He was bringing down all the long balls. He gets the goal from the corner, sort of leaves chance in a bit of no man's land.
Ibu Konate got dragged off the pitch because he couldn't cope with him.
Yeah.
Like, he had to get taken off.
Yeah.
You're right. So he hasn't been in great form, Calvert-Lewin, but they'll miss him, and he certainly has performed.
Yeah, I think Beto, he doesn't offer the same outlet that Calvert-Lewin does. He's a bit more of he's a completely different striker, really, in my opinion. He's a bit smaller. He's probably got a bit more under him in terms of legs and getting in behind. So how they're going to alter themselves? Obviously, he's put 2 in, hasn't he, recently, Beto? So suddenly he's at a purple patch and he's got to run on the side. So it'll be interesting to see how we cope with him, but I think he's going to cause us less problems than what Calvert-Lewin would have caused us. So
you know what the key is as well, because last year it was all about playing Everton's game pretty much.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how many, because Slot's already said he's watched it back today, and I think he said in the first 10 minutes the referee blew the whistle 11 times, and there were free kicks against us. So it's for me, I look at that and I think that's one thing I do like about Slot. I don't really think he cares for occasion really a lot. I don't think the fact it's the final Goodison Park derby will particularly play a factor for him in his preparation. Of course, he'll be aware of the atmosphere, the emotion. He said that today, but I do think he'll look at the game last season, last April, and go, right, let's not play Everton's game here.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a really big factor.
In terms of their threats then, Luke, because we've seen who they're missing, I think Ndai's probably impressed a lot of people since he's gone in. He'll play probably left-hand side of that 3. He kind of use it depends. It's kind of been Beto with the Corey just off him a little bit, hasn't it, in that box. So he's a threat. Beto, like I say, he's got a couple of goals recently. The Corey arriving late in the box, and then obviously the set-piece kind of thing as well. As good, and Everton have scored goals recently, it's worth mentioning. For a while they really couldn't score, but then they did go and put 3 past Tottenham, 4 past Leicester. I would argue not the greatest defences in the world.
Yeah,
they didn't get the goal against Bournemouth. They did score one goal against the quite open at times Brighton team who haven't looked that secure. So in terms of goal threat, what are you expecting from Everton?
I mean, if I'm honest, I'm expecting sort of the directness in behind to Beto. I think that's the game they will play, even though, like I said, they've been flipping before in my previous point. And probably Njai, if you can get in behind on that left-hand side, especially if it's Trent or Bradley playing, is Trent fit? Anyone know yet? You know what I mean? We'll find out. So if Trent's playing, you'd expect he'll have a little bit more freedom on that left-hand side to get in behind. That could be a real big match-up, and he could be one of the main outlets getting up that left, put him swinging balls into the box or cutting inside. So I think the 2 you've mentioned are the main threats, really. I can't really see anything else apart from Joe Tarko and stuff from set pieces where they're really going to have a major goal threat.
In terms of the injuries, though, they are a little bit short-handed at the back, especially because in terms of full-back, we'll see what Mikalenko, we don't know yet. He's touch and go. He missed the game against Bournemouth. They played Ashley Young at full-back, and then they used Jake O'Brien at right-back. So they're a little bit short-handed in both full-back positions. Obviously, without Seamus Coleman, without Mikalenko. You'd think if Liverpool are going to do anything in this game, they're the areas, really. You know, it's Gakpo or Diaz or Salah could provide an issue. So that could be one place where, you know, you probably want to stay away from Tarkowski and Branthwaite in terms of a physical battle, but if you can get in down the sides, which is Liverpool like to do, that could be a potential weakness for them.
100%. I look at Jake O'Brien and he's on the face of it the most unorthodox fullback that you will see. How many fullbacks do you see that, like 6'4", 6'5"?
So, it is strange, isn't it?
I think
Stan Bain in it, really.
That's pretty much.
He's absolutely massive, isn't he? He's huge.
Well, he missed a sitter against Bournemouth the weekend as well, O'Brien. I think for me with Moyes with that, I think he's put in a square peg in a round hole, albeit O'Brien is still doing a reasonable enough job there, just because Young. Look, he's pushing 40. I don't know when he actually is 40. I'm pretty sure he's not far.
Well, he played the game against his son this season. Well, he didn't. He could have.
Then Nathan Patterson's been there, I think, under 3 Everton managers, and clearly no one fancies him really long term. As you say, Mikalenko. So Young may well be forced to go into left back. So he is forced to play O'Brien there. Tarkowski and Branthwaite, look, they had a really good partnership last season. Not been quite as good this year, I don't think, but still, you're seeing Everton perform well enough at the back with those two. But that is the big thing. I think, honestly, in terms of the left wing, I don't know if there's a more informed left winger than Cody Gakpo in the Premier League right now, and this will be by far and away Jacob O'Brien's toughest test.
It's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that, because he is massive. That's the thing. That's what
it's
he's
going to be a physical battle as well.
Usually, I think Gakpo against the fullback in terms of physicality, he's got the beating of him. He'll have the pace on O'Brien, but he is a big guy. Like, it'll be interesting to see how Gakpo deals with it. The only other thing to touch on, because they have got a few injuries. Now, they've made a couple of additions, obviously, Everton and Everton over the summer. But in terms of bench options, I'm just looking at the other day in the Cup. They brought on Michael Keane and stuck him up front. Jack Harrison, Carlos Alcaraz, and then Irogbunum, whose name I always struggle with. And then it was a couple of young lads, the goalies. It feels like their bench at this moment in time, Luke, because the injuries is suffering a little bit. Liverpool, they're going to have a bench full of quality. We know that Liverpool's bench is going to be stacked because we'll touch upon later. There's not too many lads missing. That could be a factor in this as well. Like, if the game is tight late, which I think we'd all expect it probably will be, Liverpool's firepower compared to Everton are a little bit hamstrung with their injuries there could play a factor as well. There's nothing too terrifying coming off that Everton bench, you would think.
No, there's not, and that's probably where we got the upper hand on them. We've got the 5 subs and we can use them. Arnie, for pretty much every game this season, apart from this weekend, he's been really, really good with the subs, and he sort of does make a few unorthodox changes, but then it always seems to just work out for him. So you'd argue that's where we've maybe got the upper hand, maybe got a little bit of leverage, but we can bring on and introduce a Diogo Jota, a Luis Diaz. We might introduce a Curtis Jones into midfield, and they've got real quality that can affect the game. Where you're looking at Everton, who are they going to bring on? You know what I mean?
Alcaraz looked alright when he come on the other day.
So he's the lad from Southampton, is he? Yeah, okay.
He used to be at Southampton, and he went away, and then he brought him back.
Yeah.
They stuck Michael Keane up front. What I would say is they did create chances all through the game. They just missed a few scissors. So I think if the game was going later, I think Liverpool, the bench could provide something. But again, we'll find out. But overall, before we go to the break, I'll finish with you on the Everton thing, Chris. It is going to be rocking. Make no doubt about it. It is going to be absolutely bouncing in that place. Time will just tell, I suppose, how Liverpool react to that, and how, if it does do anything for Everton, but also if it goes wrong, what's good doesn't like if they're losing 2-0 in the last Merseyside derby. There's a lot. It can go either way, that Merseyside derby atmosphere at Everton, because I said it before, mate. They're fantastic when the team's doing well or they need it, but when things are going badly, sometimes it can be very, very hostile towards their own players.
Yeah, I did wonder, the first game when Moyes took charge after Dyche left the club or the Premier League, they lost 1-0 to Villa. I remember watching that thinking, if this was a Dyche team, if this was under Dyche, he's getting crucified.
Yeah,
because I think Villa could have been 4-0 up at half time. They eventually won the game, and then Cavalier missed, I think, 2 really big opportunities later on. And if that had been under Dyche, I don't know what the feeling would have been. And then, of course, they win the 3 games. It is the feeling, Moyes, in the last 20-25 years, by far and away, Everton's best manager. You could maybe argue Martinez for that one season, but by far and away, Moyes has done so much for Everton. And yeah, I think the atmosphere at Goodison Park when things are going well, of course, it is really, really big, and it is about. I do think the first goal is so big because it's the same as last year. Like, the thing is, the important thing to point out from the derby last year, it's not as if there weren't chances. Mm-hmm. There were lots of chances. Most of them just ended up straight at Pickford.
Yeah.
That I think
Liverpool played poorly in that game and couldn't easily have got something out of it.
So the first goal is so big because, similarly to Bournemouth the other week, and I know Bournemouth played really, really well, and we couldn't have argued if they'd got a point. Bournemouth didn't have the bench depth, and that's where I think if Liverpool go 2 goals in front, or I do struggle to see where Everton get the bench depth from to get back into it.
Just a side note before we go to the break. If someone can confirm this in the chat, I read that on LC.com about 2 weeks ago. Apparently we win. This is the 100th ever win for us in the Merseyside derby.
That's right.
So that's the side story. We could spoil it. We can really spoil the party.
And actually, at Goodison, the record's interesting. It's 41 wins each.
So move on up.
Yeah, there we go. Whoever wins this one, if there is a winner, you end up with like the bragging rights in terms of most derby wins at Goodison. But you're right, Liverpool have beaten Everton 99 times.
There we go.
It could be win 100 if they get it, and hopefully they do. Join us after the break, by the way. We'll be speaking about the Liverpool team news, injury updates, what team the guys think the manager should select rather. We'll go into that break with a trivia question now. It's an easy one in terms of you've got to guess a number, gents, and let us know in the YouTube chat as well. So, how many goals has Mo Salah scored for Liverpool against Everton? That's your trivia question going into break. How many goals has Mo Salah scored for Liverpool versus Everton? We'll be back with the answer to that, and I'll look ahead to Arne Slot's team selection after this quick break. Hey everyone, in December we give away a shirt signed by Kenny Dalglish. In January we give a shirt signed by Ian Callaghan away. Well, it's February and we've got another signed shirt to give to one of our wonderful Redmen Plus Legend subscribers. This time it is signed by not one but two icons of the football club. This is a Rome 1984 shirt signed by two of the men who won the European Cup for Liverpool on that day. You've got Ronnie Whelan and you've got spaghetti legs himself, Bruce Grobbelaar. If you want to be in the draw to win this, simply go to redmenplus.com. Join us as a legend subscriber. Get access to all of our amazing extra content in video and in podcast forms. And yeah, you get loads of perks. You get access to the Discord, you get free merchandise, you get discounted merchandise as well. But if you do it today, by the end of February, you'll be in the draw to win this signed shirt. Ronnie Whelan, Bruce Grobbelaar, get yourselves involved right now. Welcome back. The boys have got their thinking hats on. How many goals has Mo Salah scored against Everton? Chris, go on, have a little guess.
Okay, I know how many is at least, but I'll add a few more to it. I'll go for 11.
Okay, you're mad.
Yeah, but that's 7, isn't it?
It is 7, right? Tan in the chat got it right, and so did Emma G as well. I wish it was 11.
You know what? I've counted 7, so I've just added on goals that didn't exist.
You've done the hard
6 on your hands of 40, he's nearly there.
Yeah, you've done the hard work. So his first one was the Puskas goal in 2017. He scored in the 2-2 draw during COVID. At Goodison Park. He scored twice in the 4-1. He scored in a 2-0 win at Anfield in February 23, and then he scored both goals in the 2-0 win in October 23. So 7.
Actually the ones I was thinking. I just thought there's one or two. I just totally forgot.
Yeah,
so you're compensating with some you forgot you thought.
As Tony says in the chat, it'll be 10 after tomorrow. Yes, fingers crossed. If Liverpool do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about the Reds then. Injury update just before we start talking team news. So Joe Gomez is out. And Trent Alexander-Arnold trained a bit yesterday, and he's going to fully train today. That's the plan, hopefully, and then they're going to see how he is for tomorrow. So that's the first question there, Luke, is right back's going to be interesting. If Trent comes through the full session today unscathed, having shown yesterday that he partially trained, the manager's decision is, does Trent start and get dragged off after give you an hour and come off, or does Conor Bradley start and you look to bring Trent later on? There are pros and cons to both. If Trent can give you an hour, is Trent starting for you?
Definitely, 100%. I was about to say that before you even said. If you can give him an hour, you've got to play him. He's too creative. He creates too many opportunities. He's deadly. You know what I mean? When you get him sort of further on just outside of the box and putting the ball in, it's something that Conor Bradley doesn't offer. He's more of an overlap. Conor Bradley, he's got the legs now. So give us an hour, come up, bring Conor Bradley on. You don't want to bring Trent on 2-0 down chasing the game, I don't think. I think you want him there from the offset to try and get us in front. So let's see what happens. Let's see what the manager does.
The Liverpool tended to err on the side of caution with injuries, Chris. It's worth mentioning. Arne Slot and his fitness side. And like I say, when he spoke before Plymouth, he said, Liverpool have got 5 games in 15 days. This is the start of that. You don't want to take any unnecessary risks. So that's the other option for Conor Bradley. Didn't play at the weekend in case Trent wasn't going to be available. So history suggests that he might go Bradley, and then he's got Trent off the bench if he needs, similar to what he did Tottenham, for example. I think it was the League Cup game when Liverpool looked much better when Trent come on. But I mean, I think we'd all be fine with Conor. I think Conor's earned our trust. But yeah, I would like Trent to be fit enough to start, but history suggests he's probably going to start Conor Bradley.
I think if he starts, it's a nailed on substitution, because you won't get
either way, that's one of your subs. Either way,
and I'll be honest with you, when I saw the lineup on Sunday, the very first thing I thought was Trent won't be ready.
For Wednesday.
Very first thing, because I would have played Bradley on Sunday, but all things considered, with him not playing, I thought, right, that's him guaranteed for Wednesday. I was actually a little bit surprised when Slot said that Alexander-Arnold trained yesterday and is set to train today, to be honest. I don't know, he'd originally said days, not weeks, but I'm the same as you, where I just didn't expect that. But I think you are right in that it is a gamble to play him, but at the same time, the creativity's there. He is gonna get a bit of freedom down that side, I think, because we've said about Mykolenko and Young, and Moyes is doing his press conference later, so we'll get a better idea on Mykolenko. But if it is Ashley Young, he's not going to be bombarding down that left side. not at all.
You don't have to worry about the pace there, do you? So, it's the Ndiaye thing that he's probably going to
the Ndiaye behind. I was going to say, also, if Ashley Young's on, I think you can take the mick out of Ashley Young, especially if he's playing, you know what I mean? He lost his head last time at our place. You can get at him and get in his head quite easily.
Because I saw Mykolenko and Ndai doubling up on Saka at the Emirates earlier this season, and actually did a really good job, to be fair. But of course, that was Mykolenko and not Ashley Young, and I know Young maybe hasn't been as bad as some make him out to be this year, but would you still fancy Salah and Alexander-Arnold up against Ashley Young at left back? You would. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I would like it to be Alexander-Arnold, but with so many games coming up, it's how big a risk they think it is. So we'll see how they go there. The rest of it makes itself. Alisson will be in goal. It'll be Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson. It's interesting here because I could pick the team. I think there's only one place up for grabs because it's going to be Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. It's going to be Salah. It's going to be Cody Gakpo. That's what's there. That's the only two places right back we've spoke about. It's up front. It's whether he goes Diaz or Darwin Núñez. Now Diaz plays the full 90 at the weekend. Darwin comes on for the remainder of the second half, Luke. So is that a tip that he's thinking Darwin at Everton, or is he? Because in the past he said the reason he's used Luis Diaz is against centre halves, who big defenders, you probably don't want to go and chase him round. A physical battle, they're up for that. That suggests it would be Diaz. But his actions that he on Sunday suggest it might be Núñez, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it gets a little bit lost in translation, doesn't it, sometimes when he's speaking. I think he might have learnt his lesson from the Forest game, because I think the Forest game...
By the way, to apologise, Jota is fit.
Yeah, Jota.
I didn't even mention Diogo Jota. I didn't even mention Diogo Jota. My apologies for that, so apologies for that.
No, it's all right. So, I think he maybe learnt his lesson from the Forest game. We played Diaz and we played him in that false nine role, trying to pull defenders out, and Forest were just too disciplined. No one was following him. We weren't creating the areas that he had created in previous games. And it was not bad on Luis's Diaz point. It was just the fact that it just wasn't working. What we set out on the tactics board before the game, Forest just didn't want to play ball. They had a different idea at hand, and it just counteracted really well. I think Núñez is going to be more physical battle. I can't see Branthwaite and Tarko chasing Luis Diaz around the pitch for 90 minutes. They'll just let him run and go into those pockets of space and not move and just try and mark areas. So I think Núñez more of a physical battle. Let's see if it works out for him. It hasn't worked out in the past for Goodison. I think he's hit the post twice. And
there was one last year, wasn't it? When they say about the chances, it was straight out. This was straight out. Pickford, wasn't it? I don't know.
One with Pickford saves, and then the first year he's in the derby where it comes over his head.
The Torres effort,
the Blackburn Torres goal. If that went in, bloody hell, yes.
I think I would go Núñez as well to start. I would probably want to go Jota as well. There's a case for all of them, but the only reason I'm suggesting Diaz is, you're right, because I always go back to when he said Jonathan Tah doesn't want to play. He wants to play against someone who can get into a battle with, and we just give him Luis Diaz and go, well, we're not going to give you that battle. We're going to just ask you to do stuff. But Luke's counterpoint is right. Like Nottingham Forest were like sound. Yeah, we'll just sit here. What would you do?
It's funny because straight after Sunday as well, I sat back and I went, right, well, one of the three biggest disappointments in this game has got to start the derby.
I
don't think any of them particularly shone in the audition to start. I agree with you that for me it is the one spot up for grabs, really. I'm still kind of edging towards Diaz. I just wonder how much circumstance dictated Diaz played 90 minutes at the weekend.
Losing.
So yeah, because if it had all gone to plan, he probably would have come off about maybe 70 minutes, something like that. So I am sensing it being more Diaz, but this is something because I've seen Luis Diaz coming in for a bit of criticism recently on social media as well. Yes, 8 goals in the Premier League, but it is worth noting, and it's a kind of a new way of thinking, they've only come in 5 matches. So, and there was that blistering start to the season that he had. Was it 5 goals in 3 games? And then I think since then he scored against West Ham and Spurs. So since like September, they're the only 2 games he scored in. So again, he is fighting for a place as well, because I said last time I was on here, Gakpo's nailed down that left wing spot now. So Diaz can't physically get into that position. So now either he's got to readjust and fight against one natural striker in Jota and someone that really wants to be on the left but has to play in the middle in Núñez. So yes, I think whoever plays in that number 9 role, there is a lot of pressure on them.
Tony says he would play Jota, so does Ray. I would play Jota as a 9 and have Darwin as a sub.
How long do you reckon he could get out of Jota?
I think he looks fit, doesn't he?
He could probably play the whole game.
We say this.
We don't know.
He just didn't quite look himself on the weekend, that's all it was. I think there's also an element here, we said it the other week as well, where Sunday you're trying to play Diaz into form. You probably in an ideal world he probably doesn't play it to gamble. You try to play him into form, it hasn't quite worked out.
Yeah.
But when you've got 2 9s in Núñez and Jota, you know what I mean? You've got 2 traditional lines, one can play, then you've got Diaz as an option off the bench. It's something we said last week. And whether he's going to look at that and sort of revert back to that is going to be the next sort of step. I think it's really telling as well that Diaz plays in the left wing at the weekend. I know Jota's on, Jota is the 9, but if he was looking at playing Diaz in a more central role long term, I think that's where you sort of play Diaz in the middle. You might play Jota out wide or sort of play him in the midfield behind and pick a few different players. So
I'm just reading in between the lines of Slot's comments today as well, because he made the point Núñez has been in Spain this week because his girlfriend's just given birth. Girlfriend, wife, I'm not actually sure if he's married. Sorry, Darwin. But his missus given birth. So he's literally just come back maybe a day or 2 ago. So you think in an ideal world, on Sunday, Curtis Jones would have started and Darwin Núñez would have started.
Yeah.
So Diaz would have been on the bench. So that's why I'm kind of thinking, right, it will be Diaz on Wednesday because in an ideal world he wouldn't have played on Sunday at all.
It'll be interesting to see what he does. What would you do?
I probably would do Diaz. I probably would because you are right in that. I think Tarkowski and Branthwaite would be a bit more disciplined than a Jonathan Tah would be, for example, because I think also in that game there was so much expected of Leverkusen. I know we keep on going back to that game, but Leverkusen was seen as this all-conquering side from the Bundesliga, had an amazing year last year. Yes, they've fallen off a little bit this year, but still in a reasonable enough race with Bayern Munich. I think for Everton, the message to Tarkowski and Branthwaite will be so simple. It will be just don't lose your position. Yeah. Don't lose your position. Stay as a back 2. When Diaz tries to drop in a la Firmino, don't follow him and allow space in behind.
So Diaz, you might get Diaz on the ball a bit more.
And I just think, again, with Jota would be the best if opportunities are really coming. I just wonder about Núñez in that kind of atmosphere. Do I trust him to keep his head from the outset? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
basically,
it's fair. What would you do?
I stand by. I'd still play him, and he probably is red card hungry. To be honest, you know what I mean? You know what he's like, but I'd still play him.
I think I've changed my mind.
You'd spoke you out of it.
No, I think I'd play Jota.
You would.
Got 3.
I don't know.
Got all 3 different things.
I think Jota affects the game more.
I just think he's ice cold.
Yeah,
that finish in the 4-1 a couple of years.
I just think he's ice cold. I don't know. We had a bad game. Everyone played badly against Plymouth.
Yeah.
I just think you mentioned that you kind of ticked last year where like you need to score. Like when that chance will come and you need to score. And of all the 3, I would want Diogo Jota on it. I mean, hopefully it falls to Mo Salah or Cody Gakpo. That would be ideal, but I think I would go Jota, and then you've got Núñez for Jota and Diaz for Gakpo as your options. I think the manager's going to pick Luis Diaz. Is what I think he's going to do. So there you go. We've solved after. We're not in there. 3 different answers.
All different answers.
Let us know in the YouTube comment section, or if you listen to this as a podcast, get in touch with us on social media. What would you do in terms of Liverpool starting 11? I'll go back to it very quickly as well. Liverpool's bench, if that's the case, and whatever you decide. So Kelleher, it'll be Kwanzaa, one of Bradley or Alexander-Arnold, Curtis Jones, Elliott, Endo, and then you've got Diaz or Jota, or Gakpo, whatever he does, Núñez, whatever the 2 are. Tsimikas, he's also Chiesa. Like he's got options there. His bench makeup's going to be fascinating. It feels like it might be one that Chiesa misses.
Yeah,
if I'm honest with you. But I go back to that, there's lots of game changers on that bench now, and some of them with a point to prove after putting in absolute stinkers on Sunday. There's a real strength in depth to Liverpool still, even with a couple of injuries.
Yeah, I think depending on where he goes, there's a few physical players who can come on and sort of affect the game if you could put Núñez on the bench or whatnot. Like I said, we don't even know the 11 here. We can't even agree. So depends who's there on the bench.
Whichever forwards arm, whichever one of them is.
We're confident of 10 of the 11.
Yeah,
I'm 9. I'm not 9.
Bradley. Right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But I think like Elliott coming on, he can affect the game in a different way. Where like sort of he'd be hungry to get a game as well, because his performance at Plymouth on Sunday was, it wasn't great. He gives away the penalty, which I called harsh, by the way, and I've got a load of stick for it. But it weren't harsh in the fact that like
that's an idiot.
I was thought his hands above his head. He's up there. There's not really he can do now. It's a penalty.
There definitely is what he can do.
Yeah.
Not play volleyball.
But I just think you've got yourself into that position now. Your hands are above your head and the ball's literally 2 yards in front. It's been kicked into you. You just got to keep your hands down in the box. But even if you've seen it, there's nothing you can do in that sort of time frame to get your hand out the way. So you just feel terrible for him. So he'll want to play himself into form. He'll want to come in and put in a good performance now, because he's been the one saying he's dying for opportunities in the team, and then he's got one and he hasn't quite took it. So he's going to get another one. Best be known, he's going to try and take it by the reins and affect the game.
Side note here, and I know this isn't particularly on the game, but is there how many games for the rest of the season? And this is coming from a big Harvey Elliott fan. How many games for the rest of the season can you see him starting?
None at the moment.
Very few. He's gonna have to be a bench player. But listen, Liverpool have got 5 in 15.
Yeah.
So 2 injuries and he's in. Like,
exactly.
He's got to be ready. I think we're going to see a lot of the squad used going forwards. I think tomorrow, I think he'd do well to get on. I don't really see the reason for bringing him on, unless like say you're desperate. But then I still think Curtis Jones is ahead of him. And actually, the manager still prefers maybe Jota as like a 10/thing. Yeah. He tends to like that if he's chasing a goal as well. So yeah, we'll find out. But I do like to make up with the bench. All bases covered there. Again, I think that could be crucial. I think, would you be shocked if it's 75 minutes on this game's level, or there's a goal in it? It feels like that's probably where we're heading towards. I hope it's not. Yeah. I hope we absolutely batter them, but it just doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. Right then, guys, it's the time of the show. Do you think we're going to win the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park?
Yeah, I think you've got to come to the game with confidence, haven't you? So let's say I can't envision the goals, to be honest. It's probably going to be a tight one, sort of like 2-1, 1-0. But I'll put my balls out there and say 3-0 and Mo Salah scores all 3. So.
I'll take it. There's that 10. There's that 10.
I'll go 2-0. I'll go 2-0. I think there's going to be so much possession, and it is going to be just making sure not to fall into the traps that were laid in April. I'll go 2-0.
I think 2-1. I wouldn't be shocked by a 1-1 or a draw, because that's just what happens at Goodison. History suggests that to be the thing. I would be very surprised if Liverpool lost. And hopefully I just back us to squeak one out towards there, whether it's late drama or whatever. But yeah, I think it helps us that they're going to try and play a little bit. They won't be too adventurous, but they'll be a little bit more adventurous. And like I say, I think I'd like to hope our centre halves are in much better form to deal with what is going to be at times a bit of a physical battle. Ibu and Virgil hopefully do better than they did last time. Tony goes for 3-1. Football God, a nice name, goes for 3-0. Freedom goes for 2-0 as well. So yeah, there you go. Everyone in the chat's confident. The guys are confident. Do tune in for the Merseyside derby watch along. We go live on YouTube an hour and 20 minutes before kickoff. It's a 7:30 kickoff. Bear that in mind wherever you're watching around the world as well. Keep that in your head. So that'll be 6:10. We'll go live on the YouTube channel. So do come and join us for that one. It's going to hopefully watch Liverpool go 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League, and send the Toffees home from that last Merseyside derby feeling more blue than usual. See you then.